In this video, you will learn a formula how to create A+ content for your Amazon product detail page. And our guest today is Chris Rawlings from Sophie Society Agency. And Chris did provide us formula for A+ content in the past. You can find the link at the top and below in the description to the previous video. However, in early 2021, there were some changes on Amazon where the formula for creating A+ or EBC content had to be adjusted. So watch this video. Also, make sure you check the link below to Sophie Society. You can check what they do, what services they offer. They can also help you to craft your EBC or enhanced brand content or A+ content as well. And the host of this session is LISETT LEES. She works with different Amazon brands. And as always, don't forget to subscribe below to the YouTube channel of Orange Klik. Click the notification bell. Also, click the like button. And here we talk with different Amazon experts and software creators.
Hi Chris, it's great to have you here today after we have done one video about A+ content earlier. So for those who don't know you yet, could you please introduce yourself and tell us what you do in the Amazon space?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, my name is Chris Rawlings. I'm the CEO of Sophie Society and leader in the Titan network as well. Also a co-owner of Ignite Brands. And basically my history in this space is that I created a 7-figure brand about 6 years ago now, and then just ported that success over to helping launch other brands. And since then, I've overseen over 2,000 product launches on Amazon across my companies, due to launch Sophie, Ignite Brands. And and I've taken brands from 7 figures to 8 figures and even managed 9-figure brands on Amazon. So I've seen the whole gambit, from really huge companies to small companies just starting out. And and so now I'm focused with Sophie Society on creating the highest converting listing content and managing PPC from a holistic perspective. That includes taking insights from PPC and integrating them into listing content, and taking insights from listing content performance and integrating it into PPC. So we kind of view that as a completely different animal than most parties in the industry, I would say. So today I'm here to share the new EBC formula that we teach. I just did a presentation on this at a secret mastermind in Mexico. And so I'm happy to share for the first time ever publicly this formula. And the reason that you guys should listen to me when I'm presenting this content is that we've tested this out over the past couple months on hundreds and hundreds of listings. And my background is actually, I came from the science world. I have a degree in physics. And so I brought that into all my businesses. We measure the quantitative results of every hypothesis we have when it comes to what effect content has in the actual marketplace. So when we distill a formula for a piece of content, whether it be the formula for the best image set, or the formula for the best enhanced brand content, or the formula for the best video, we come up with hypotheses, we test them in the market, and we measure the results. And I'm actually going to show you some of the results of implementing this formula in the presentation itself. So we may be the only ones in the industry that have hundreds and hundreds of data points from testing this stuff in the marketplace for real. So it's a perfect combination of the creative beating heart and the quantitative, truth-based scientific focus. And and we came up with dozens of hypotheses before we distilled and tested this one. I think about a year ago now, LISETT, was when we recorded the last one.
Exactly. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Since then, Amazon has updated the modules. Some of them work worse on mobile now. Some of them waste a lot of space now. A lot of things have changed since then. And I actually expect a lot of things to change in the next year as well. I'm looking at my calendar over here. So we'll probably be doing another updated one, maybe in a couple months. We were just talking about some of the updates that are happening live right now, just in these past couple days and a couple weeks, and the updates that we expect to happen in the next couple months. So we'll probably be teed up for the next follow-on video after this. But for now, as of March 2021, this is the most effective formula for crafting EBC that leads to the most high converting listings. So I'm ready to get into it as soon as you are.
I am ready as well, and I'm excited what you bring new on the table as well. So let's go straight into it and see what you have.
All right, cool. Let's do it. So I'm going to share my screen here real quick. Okay, so I'm going to run through this quickly so we can get to some of the discussion stuff at the end as well. Basically, this is a straight up, by the way, LISETT, feel free to interrupt me and be the voice of the viewer here if something doesn't make sense to you or you need clarification on something. So
sure, I will let you know.
Cool. Yeah, I know you're not afraid to to jump in because you've done it many times before, and I love that. So you're the voice of the viewer here. So basically, before I just get into it, anything creative, know the rules and just follow the rules before you break them. I learned this when I was learning guitar. I was trying to be way too avant-garde and creative when I was just learning guitar, and it was just didn't lead to good results. Whereas if you just learn what people have already figured out first, you could play pretty much any song and be an amazing guitarist. And then once you're an absolute maestro, then you can start messing with things. But the formula I'm about to teach you guys is evidence-based, leads to the highest impact in conversion, and is based on hundreds and hundreds of listings being uploaded into the Amazon marketplace. So just follow it. Don't question it or mess with it or anything. I'm literally giving you the distilled insights from months of testing. So just follow the formula, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. That's the rule here. So first of all, for people that don't know what A+ content is, otherwise known as enhanced brand content, EBC, it's the content in the middle of the listing. It shows up on mobile and desktop. On desktop, it replaces the description. On mobile, it either replaces the description or appears in addition to the description, depending on the listing and the category. Amazon provides you a DIY builder that has modules just like WordPress or Wix or any other website builder that allows you to build it without knowing HTML or anything like that. You do need brand registry in order to have that. There are plenty of hacks to get brand registry really fast if you don't have that. So that's definitely a subject for another time. Why it matters is that it's enhanced brand content and A+ content is actually way more important than people think. And I'll show you guys some examples at the end here. I mean, we have hundreds of examples, but I pulled out a handful just to show you guys. It can have a significant impact on conversion. I mean, it can have a 2 or 3% increase in conversion, but it can also have a 15 or 20% increase. And I don't mean relative increase. I mean absolute points. When I say 2 or 3%, I don't mean increasing sales by 2 or 3%. I mean going from a 12% conversion to a 15% conversion, which is actually more like a 25% relative increase in sales, just from a 3% absolute change in conversion. Whereas you could also go from 13% to 23%, which is more like a 45% relative increase in sales, and or no, much more than that. But it's 10% absolute points in absolute conversion. And the thing is, people don't really realize this, but the difference between upgrading your listing content and increasing your conversion permanently, and alternative to that, focusing on driving traffic like external traffic or PPC, which provides instant results, but you have to constantly pay in to get those results, is the difference between having a race car that you just, every time you fuel up, you have to dump nitrous into it. You have to pay for nitrous fuel to make it go faster. That's adding traffic to a listing that's not converting well. Whereas fixing your conversion is upgrading the engine once, paying to upgrade the engine, and then that car is permanently faster. You don't have to put nitrous in every single time you fuel up. It's just always faster. If you want 10 more sales each day, you can either, with a 10% converting listing, You can either just add 100 new sessions each day by driving more traffic to that listing that converts to 10%, or you can just change the conversion rate from 10% to 20%, and then the traffic you're already getting just provides you more sales straight up. So, and without paying for any more traffic, without paying for traffic every day, without dumping more money in at all. It's just a one-time upgrade, and boom, you have that many more sales every day, permanently, forever. Not forever, but for the foreseeable future, basically. So I like people, it's weird how much time people spend on hacks and getting more traffic, and how little time and little money and little resources people spend on just increasing their conversion. It's the easiest way to permanently upgrade your sales. Another reason why EBC is so important, buyer behavior works like this. A visitor finds your listing either by ranking or by navigating it from another listing through browsing behavior. So either search or browse behavior, they land on your listing. They scan the top, they scan a couple of the images and the bullet points, then they scroll all the way down and skip everything. And they just look at the reviews. If the reviews are bad, they click off the listing and you lost them. If the reviews are good enough, then they've committed to learning about the product because you've passed the social proof test, and they will scroll up from the bottom and actually eat the listing from the bottom up. So your EBC, they're going to spend most of their focused attention actually on your EBC, not on your bullet points and your main images and all the other stuff that you think is the most important. And also, they don't have to interact in order to get the EBC. They just have to scroll. And way more than half of purchases are happening on mobile. So people are way more likely to just scroll around than click each of your individual images to see them. So it's actually a lot more important than people think. A lot of people think EBC or A+ content, it's a side thought. It's something they figure out after they figured out everything else. This should be at the forefront of your attention. And I'm going to show you at the end some real examples of how this changed conversion rate for listings in a dramatic way, so that you can see it for yourself. But yeah, buyer behavior is weird. It's very schizophrenic and erratic. And a lot of customers are eating listings from the bottom up, not the top down. So the EBC is first super important. I already went over who I am, so I'm going to skip this slide. The goal is to increase SEO relevance. You can get indexing from EBC, but the main thing is to increase customer trust and get more conversions. So this is a conversion activity more than it is an indexing activity, although you can get indexing from it. It's just not nearly as powerful as the indexing you get from the title and the bullet points. So the method here is to inform, inspire, and sell. The information comes from adding to their understanding of the product and of the brand. The inspiration comes from you eliciting an emotion from them. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that through storytelling and where to put that in EBC. And the selling comes into the cross-selling of other products. So this is the basic goals that we're achieving with EBC. And I'm going to show you module by module exactly how to achieve these right now. I don't know why I have this slide so many times. All right, so here's the formula. I'm going to lay it out for you right now in the beginning, and then we're going to go through each one point by point. So it's the hero image, which we're going to dive deep into in a second. Then it's 4-panel lifestyle images plus story, or you can do the story in and of itself. We'll talk about that when we get to that module. Then it's the 4-panel, again, using icons to display features. Then it's the banner image with the breakout, an instructional, inclusions graphic or X factor graphic. And then it's another banner image with one of the other of these four, either breakout, an instructional, inclusions, or an X factor graph. Finally, you have the product carousel that allows you to cross-sell products. And all of these, so all of these only use 4 of the modules that Amazon has available to you. And I think Amazon has something like 10 or 12 modules available to you. You don't need to use them all. You shouldn't use them all. Most of them are a complete waste and totally unnecessary. You only need these 4 modules to make this 6-part formula work. Okay. And we're going to talk about some updates that Amazon has recently hinted at that may change this formula in the near future. And I'm going to show you exactly how it would change. if those updates do come to fruition for all sellers. But don't worry about that. We'll handle that at the end. All right. So starting with the hero image, before I get into the example, the hero image's job is to grab the attention of the visitor or of the shopper. So like I said, they just decided that the reviews are good enough for them to stay on the listing and learn more. Now they're scrolling up from the bottom. You need to grab them with something striking. So it's a striking image. The point of the hero image is to stop them from scrolling. Okay, some really good ways to do this. Faces. Human faces are so impactful. This is a theme throughout the entire formula for EBC. And there have actually been studies on this, not on Amazon, but on websites, that two websites that are exactly the same, one has human faces and one does not. The one with human faces has a dramatically higher conversion to inspire the visitor to take an action, whether it be to opt in for a newsletter, to buy a product, or to book a call, whatever the action is. They're dramatically more likely to take that action if there are human faces on the site than if there are no human faces on the site. And in this study, there weren't even the human faces were not even like the founders or the customers or anything like that. It was just like random human faces. It's that powerful of an impact. So human faces need to be in your EBC. Some companies are uncomfortable with this or feel that they can't make it work, but I'm telling you, it has a dramatic impact. Having human faces elicits trust. It's a subconscious thing. You're speaking to the subconscious of the shopper, not the conscious mind. So yeah, the goal is to stop them from scrolling. Let's get into some examples of that. Now, here's a really good example. I'm actually going to use this example. This is an EBC that we created for this company, Pragmatic. Really cool company with a really great purpose. The founder is really cool. Is actually really close friends with some of my friends and people that you know, like Gary Huang. To drill even deeper into this human faces thing and human beings, the best way you can do this is to include the faces of your ideal customer avatar. Okay, so if you know the most common or the most frequent purchaser of this product and you've defined your customer avatar, you should use that person. Now, this is not a time to be politically correct. You know, you don't want a diversity image of like a white person and an Asian person and a black person and a disabled person. That this is no time to be PC. Okay, when you're selling and you're using Amazon to sell, you want to sell to whoever it is that buys your product most frequently. Okay, so if it's old women that buy your product, you want to show the faces of older women who are looking satisfied and looking happy with the product. If it's young black dudes, for whatever reason, that's what you want to show. Young black dudes on your listing. Whoever it is that buys your product, show that customer avatar. Okay, this is no time for diversity and inclusion. This is the time to listen to the market and to show them that you're relating to them. Now, there are always going to be different types of people and different like sub niches that buy your product. You want to show the most common. And if you can show a couple of them in your different use cases and your different lifestyle images, that's great as well. If fishermen use your product, but also backpackers use your product, and you can fit both of those in there, both of those avatars in there, that's great. If young families buy your product, but also single moms buy your product, it's also good if you can fit both of them in there. But again, focus on the one that's most frequent, most common. Kids' faces are great. This is such an advantage that toy companies have. The toy companies that aren't using kids' faces are just silly. This is another enhanced brand content that we did. You can see the striking child's face on this. Now, this is like a screenshot of it, but when you see this on a listing on desktop, it takes up the whole screen. Top to bottom, side to side, it takes up the entire screen on desktop. And on mobile, it takes up not the entire screen, but about a third of it. And it takes up the whole width of the screen. So it's very striking. It gets you to stop scrolling. The internet loves kids and puppies. So here's another one for the enhanced brand content we did for another toy company. You can see the kids. It's a big, wide, striking image, takes up the whole width of the screen. This is the way that you stop people from scrolling, and you tell them, hey, I'm talking to you, I'm selling to you, you're in the right spot, you don't need to go anywhere else. You found the listing that you're looking for.
Chris, I
Yeah.
have one question actually
Please,
regarding
yeah.
to the hero image or banner image. So if sellers have to choose between using a stock image with their ideal customer, which is without displaying the product, or using a photo that has their product but doesn't feature any faces, then which option would you choose?
For the hero image, I would choose the human faces, even if it did not include the product. You can actually see in this first example, the product is still there, but it shows the faces. So we superimposed the product on top and used it as a graphic. We weren't trying to like cheesily Photoshop it into the image and make it look like we were trying to make it part of the image, but the lighting was totally different or anything. This is a classy way to do it.
Exactly. That's what I meant, because here you don't have to put like tons of work to make really bad Photoshop if you can actually design it other way and have both in the banner. So it's a great idea.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what you want to do. You don't want the hero image to just be a big giant picture of the product. That's not what you want for the hero image. That doesn't capture the emotions of your ideal customer demographic. It's good to have the product in there, but you can't do that at the sacrifice of grabbing the attention of your customer, because there are plenty of other places, and you'll see when we go through the formula, for you to get the features and the benefits of the product across to whoever the shopper is. And we'll get into that in a second. So the next section is the 4-panel lifestyle images and story. So we're still in the emotion stage now. The whole concept here is that first we need to convince the shopper on an emotional basis to want the product, to desire the product from the part of their brain that controls their emotional centers, their limbic center, the limbic center of the brain, which controls the emotions. We're not talking to the frontal lobe. We're not talking to the rational conscious part of the brain. We're still talking to the subconscious, the emotional centers of the brain, because that's ultimately what inspires desire. And that's ultimately what determines action of any human being. It's only after you've decided you want something, because you feel good about it and you feel you want it, that you rationalize the purchase based on your own rational thought. So we're still speaking to the emotions in the second panel here. And then in the third panel, that's when we actually get to the features, speaking to the rational mind. So the 4-panel lifestyle images includes basically, in a way, you are giving the visitor a way to virtually experience the product. So it's showing it in use. It's showing it in real life settings. So these aren't like cartoons or graphics. These are like real pictures that show the product being used, the product like in setting, and hopefully people using the product at least in one or two of the panels if you can. And then also, this is the place that you can tell your story with one of the 4 panels, or you can forego this to use this section just as a story, as a banner, if you want to use it to just tell the story. And I'll show examples of both of these. Each brand is different. Some brands have a very strong story that they want to highlight, and other brands, they have a smaller story, or they have to work hard to like create a story. And they don't want it to take up an entire module, and that's fine. This is part of the update that we did to the formula. And for those brands, that's okay. But no matter which route you take, you need to have a story. So if you don't have like a really compelling founding story of the brand, like an example of that is this company Copper Cow that we worked with in the past. The founder was a really inspiring character, Vietnamese American, who went back to Vietnam to explore her roots and made connections with local farmers to create a coffee brand, a travel coffee brand. And it was really cool, really inspiring. She opted to have an entire module just for her story and to show her face, which again is really powerful, creates a connection with the visitor. And that was great for her. Other brands, including the example that we'll be walking through, have a little bit less of an emphasis on the story, but you have to tell a story one way or another. That's so important. So let's go into what this looks like. Here's an example of this. So you can see here that we're showing real pictures. It's real shots of the product. There's a real shot of the product being used. Their story happens to be about their cause. This company is really cool, and they donate to the allergy, asthma, and eczema community. The founder has personal experience with this with her family, so it's really a compelling story. And again, this is all about connecting to the heart, not to the mind, connecting to the emotional centers of a person. So this is a great example of a 4-panel. Here's an example of when you take up an entire banner with your story. And this is the founder I was telling you about, Debbie from this company, Copper Cow. And she's a very inspiring figure. Again, I felt a really strong kinship with her because she also graduated from 500 startups, just like I did in Silicon Valley. So that was really cool. So that's the second module. The third module is another 4-panel, but this time we're speaking to the logical centers of the brain, and we're going through features. And the way we do this is through icons. So these are not real life pictures. These are icons. Icons display a idea or a concept tens of times, or I'll say dozens of times faster than words can. So you can understand a concept 10 times plus faster by looking at an icon than you can by reading a whole sentence of words. And this speaks to another general philosophy underlying how you should think about how to create compelling EBC on a listing, and that is attention. We are dealing in the currency of attention as Amazon sellers. Actually, everyone on the internet is. Look at Instagram, look at TikTok. Anything on the internet is dealing in a currency that's completely separate from dollars or euros or pounds. It's attention. That is the ultimate currency of the internet. And you have a limited amount of a person's attention where you want to communicate the most effectively, the most amount of information that you can to them to get them to take an action. In this case, it's to make a purchase. So with that being said, how do you communicate complex ideas and a lot of ideas and a lot of emotions and a lot of feelings in a very short amount of time? It's not by using words. The whole concept of EBC is to communicate as much as you possibly can visually. You want to max out the amount that you can communicate visually, the amount of emotions you can communicate, the amount of information you can communicate in a visual way. And only after you've exhausted all possible creative visual ways to communicate something, do you go to a text or a copy to communicate it. So the third panel is about communicating complex ideas very simply and immediately. And you're showing the features that set you apart. Now let's get into some examples of this. Here's the same example we were looking at before. This is the next 4-panel. You can see that the icons visually communicate what those features are. It's very simple that I can see, especially if I'm this ideal customer demographic and I'm the right person looking at this listing, that this second icon here is showing that it's water resistant. It's water droplets not getting through the surface. If I'm this ideal customer demographic, I know what this third icon represents in the carrying card. And this fourth icon represents an instruction, the epinephrine instructions card. So you communicate these concepts in a visual way so that even if they don't fully understand it by looking at the icon, all they need to do is scan the text in order to get the idea. And that's what we want. We want them to get things fast so that they move on. So we win when it comes to the game of currency, of the currency of attention. And that's the idea. That is the ultimate race between different listings. Who can communicate the most feelings and the most information the fastest? So that is the third. Let's get into the fourth, is the banner image. Now, both the fourth and the fifth are very similar. You want to use them in different ways. The way we like to separate it out is a lot of times one will focus more on the emotions and the benefits of the product. Another one will focus more on the features and the inclusions of the product. But this is where you can dive deep. So if the product has a lot of different parts, this is a great place to do a breakout where you show each part. If the product is a kit, you can show the inclusions in the kit. If the product has instructions or a simple way to use it, you show the step 1, step 2, step 3 of how to use it, and always do step 1, step 2, step 3. I don't care if it has 10 steps, distill them into 3 steps, at max 4. You can always simplify things into 3 or 4 steps. Even if it's much more, you just bin them into groups, because it shows the simplicity of it. It shows how, to their mind, how it will be used by them. This is a concept used in sales all the time. You hear people do this when you're being sold over the phone or to buy a car or whatever, is that the salesperson will walk you through what the first steps are once you make the purchase or once you take that decision. Okay, here's what's going to happen. You're going to have an onboarding call. And then after your onboarding call, you're going to be sent the contract. Once you sign the contract, then we're going to do the first campaign for you. And it will look like this. Walking the customer through this gives them the virtual experience of using the product in the first few moments of them opening it, which puts them even closer to the state of buying the product, because they feel like almost they've already experienced it or they already have it and they're already happy with it. So again, I told you guys that I'd be getting deep here into the philosophy behind creating ABC that converts really, really well. And this is why this formula works so well. It is perfectly adaptable and perfectly suited to the human psychology behind what makes someone make a purchase. So let's go into some examples of this. Here's one that is inclusions. So again, both of these are custom graphics. You're using I think it's called single image with text overlay module, and you're doing no text overlay. Okay. Never use Amazon's text overlay. It's going to look really bad. It's going to cover different parts of the listing depending on whether it's mobile or desktop. And it's just not going to be communicated the way you want it to. So you want to just create a custom graphic and upload it as just one image. Do not use Amazon's text that overlays a graphic. It's not worth it, and it comes out really ugly. So you can see we're able to communicate some key features of the product and some key benefits of the product as well, while communicating all of the things that are included in this kit. This is one of the X factors of this product, that it included a lot more elements than the next best kit for this same type of product. So this is something that we really wanted to highlight, and it shows what the item is and what it's called. So you can see what it looks like and what it actually is. This is a really powerful graphic to give them a deep understanding of the product and how it works. Here's another example. So this example shows 5 key features of the product. You can see industrial grade polyester, the heavy duty zipper. We're off benefits now, we're on to features in this case. And again, we're showing this is image heavy. It's a big fat image of the product. And we've got the image of the ideal customer demographic, which is young families with young kids. So, and the faces, it's not just the family facing away from us and it's them playing with each other in a park or something. Their faces, we're seeing their faces. Now, every shot of a person doesn't have to be a shot of just their face, but you have to make sure you have at least some of them in there. So let's get into the example of the 5th element, which is another banner image. This is just similar. You have to just do 2. One can be instructional, one can be X factor, one can be features, one can be a breakout. But this is where a lot of the meat and potatoes of the EBC happens, because they're big, striking images that are communicating concepts visually in a striking way. So here's one that shows what this can be used for, its use cases. So you could put EpiPens in there, you could put insulin pens in there, you could put inhalers in there, you could put meds in there. And again, you can see it's a custom graphic, did not use Amazon's text overlay at all. It's just completely custom. It shows all of this stuff that the product can be used for visually. And again, this is something that the ideal customer demographic for this type of product knows, and that they're going to understand what this means. Here's one, again, a big striking image. Dog people are going to love this image because it shows a super cute dog eating this, and the dog is very interested in this product. This elicits an emotion. It says, okay, this is a product my dog's going to love. And we have the features in here: low in fat, high in protein, and then a little cheeky fun here, particularly high in fun. So this is a really great banner image here. Again, visual heavy. Here's another one featuring a human face. It's showing how to use it and making it look really, really simple. And you have the ideal customer avatar here using the product themselves. And there are tons of other examples of this too. We're going to get into some more when I show you guys some whole. We've been going module by module, but at the end, I'm going to show you some entire EBCs that put it all together and show you the actual impact that it had on their real conversion. Because like I said, we measure everything. So the final section, the final module is the product carousel. This could be argued as the most important. Some people would call it the most important. This is a ninja tactic. When you're an Amazon seller, one of the most frustrating things about being an Amazon seller is the fact that Amazon is constantly trying to get people off of your listing and onto someone else's listing. They don't care if someone buys your product. They care if someone buys a product. And ideally, they want people to buy the best possible product that will give them the best experience at the lowest possible price. So they don't care about you. They don't care about you at all. Amazon does not care about you. Amazon does not care if someone buys your product. Amazon cares if someone searches for a product and buys a product, ideally the best product, meaning they want people to browse around different products as much as possible so that they make the best purchasing decision. So they're actually incentivized to get people off your listing, not on your listing. So once someone's on your listing, Amazon's trying to get them right off. And you see this. I mean, sellers who have been in the game for a while have seen a whole pattern of this. If you've been in the game long as me, you know, back in the day, we didn't have all these other sections: compare to similar items, sponsored products related to this product, customers who bought this also bought those. None of those sections were there. But Amazon more and more is finding ways to get people to browse more and not just land on or buy the first product that they click on, because to them, that if they just buy the first product they happen to see, that's a worse ending customer experience than if they see 3 or 4 products and then choose the best one. They're more likely to get a better product, right? So Amazon wants them to leave your listing. And therefore, you've got all these sections all over your listing showing other people's listings. How crappy is that? You've got sponsored products related to this products. Customers who bought this also bought, compare to similar items, frequently bought together. Sometimes you have 2 sections that sponsored products related to this item. There are tons and tons of ways Amazon's getting people to click off your listing. So the product carousel is a cool hack to get more of the real estate of your listing back so that you could sell people. If they're going to click off your listing, they'll click onto one of your other listings. And a lot of sellers don't utilize this space, and I don't know why. It is one of the coolest hacks that you can do on Amazon. One thing that we encourage our PPC subscribers to do, and that we'll do for our PPC subscribers, especially in super high competitive spaces, is use product placement ads on your own listing, just so it doesn't get taken up by other products. And this is actually really powerful. A lot of people, they don't want to waste their ad spend once they're on their listing. They don't want to waste ad spend on getting people off. That is a wrong mindset. You want as much of the real estate on your listing as you possibly can. Now, this is a way to basically get sponsored placement ads on your listing for free, because the product carousel allows you to basically make miniature listings on your listing that are clickable, that show a title, that show features. And it's kind of a hack that you can do to show like a mini listing. And I'm going to show you exactly how you do it. But here you go. So here's the same example we were looking at before, the bag for EpiPens and inhalers. You can see that we use this comparison table to show not just the differences, but also things that are the same that are just simple features. So we have this materials section, not because they're all made of different materials, but because we want to show that they're all made of this super high quality material. The 1680D polyester shell, the PE foam insulation, and the YKK zipper. The YKK zipper, everyone knows it's the best zipper that you can get. And you can see they're all the same. But the reason that we show this here is because we want to show off these features. So you use the quote unquote comparison table to compare nothing just so that you can show more features and take up more real estate on your own listing. Super smart, right? Now we are also using the comparison table for real things like the color. One's black, one's red, one's blue, one orange. But you can add more rows to the comparison table just to show more of the features of the product. And it shows a big hero image of the product, or the main image of the product, and the image is clickable, plus this title is clickable. So it's basically mini listings that you put on your listing, and it gives you the real estate back from your listing. Here's an even more extreme example. This comparison table, it literally isn't comparing anything. It's just selling the product straight up, just showing what the product is and what it's used for, just straight up selling it. Here's another one. You can see we're using the comparison table title to sell in this case. See, we have safe and non-toxic, check, check, check. Instructions included, check, check, check. Slime combinations, 100 plus, 100 plus, 100 plus. Okay, and then this is actually being used what it's supposed to be for, a slime theme. This one's ultimate mix, this one's unicorn, this one's rainbow color. But again, we're using it to sell. These are not different features. We're just showing that they're all safe and non-toxic in a very creative way. So there's really cool creative ways you can use this comparison table product carousel module here. Here's another way. This is one of the examples we looked at before with the kids. So this is the same company. This one, it was cool because we were able to show the different characters in this toy line of products. You can see one of the comparison table formulas that we used was unique personality. So Lambie is for calming your fears. Pinky is to have silly dreams. Sharky is for power and confidence. But then again, we still did the selling. So you could see the gift box, check, check, check. The dream wish is check, dream pad, check, check, check. The bedtime stories, check, check, check. You're just showing off all of your features, and you take up a big portion of your listing with this. So that less total percentage of your listing is taken up by other people's listings, and a greater percentage of the listing is taken up by your own product that is on the listing and other products that you have in your line. All right, so that is the end of the formula walkthrough. Couple tips before we get into some of these updates. Remember, the human faces, so important. Use human faces wherever possible. If you don't have a lot of images of people and a lot of lifestyle images or a lot of human faces, use stock. There's no shame in it. Freepik.com is a great resource for this. You can get licenses to use this listing content right on your listing. Big specialty graphics are great. You want to be low on text, high on images. Use images to display concepts wherever possible. If you follow all that, you will create EBC that increases your conversion. I could tell you with certainty that that is the case, especially if you don't have EBC yet. Now, before we get into these updates that we want to talk about at the end in this discussion part, I'm going to show you guys just a couple examples here, not to take up too much time. So here is Matt's actually very public about this. This is Matt Clark's brand. Matt from ASM, amazing.com. So we created their EBC for them. Before this upload, the conversion was 21%. Afterwards, it was 38%. Okay, this is the brand that Matt is now teaching how to do Shopify on. They're absolutely crushing it. It's a really great brand, super quality product that made our jobs a lot easier when creating this EBC. But you could see the formula: headline image, 4-panel lifestyle, 4-panel icons, banner. In this case, we had one extra banner before the product carousel. And I couldn't even fit it on here because we had extra modules here. Here's another one. You could see headline image, 4-panel lifestyle, 4-panel icons, banner, product carousel. Before the conversion was 22%, after the conversion was 28%. If you guys don't understand what this means, imagine this product is $10 profit per product, okay? Imagine it gets 100 sessions a day, which is really low. I mean, listings that are ranking could get 800-900 sessions a day, over 1,000 sessions a day. Some could get thousands of sessions a day. Say it was only doing 100 sessions a day. So it was ranking on bottom of page 1 or page 2 or something like that. And it went from a 22% conversion to 28% conversion at a $10 per profit, $10 profit per unit profitability rate. Well, you just added $60 in daily profit permanently by doing an update, just by adding these 6 points to your conversion rate. $60 in profit in your pocket permanently from now on. Okay, so this is really, really powerful stuff, even when the impact is not crazy dramatic. Even if you get a couple points, it's really, really powerful on your bottom line. A lot of people just don't understand this. Here's the example we were walking through this whole time. Okay, this pragmatic bags before the conversion 12, after 27. Okay, so sometimes this formula can have a really dramatic impact on your conversion. Sometimes it's modest, sometimes it's really dramatic. It depends on how the rest of your listing is converting, what space you're in, and how relevant your traffic is. So let's get into the discussion part, Lisette, shall we? Some of the stuff we were talking about before we started this.
Yeah, let's go ahead because, we were discussing with Chris that there are some updates probably coming to A+ content soon. So I have noticed some of the things, you have noticed some of the things. So what have you seen in Amazon, and what can we wait and what future brings to us?
Yeah, so one thing that just happened recently, actually in the last couple of weeks, really in the last couple of days, is that the Amazon's A+ content builder is now saying that you can upload 5 modules instead of 7. Okay, so it was 7 this whole time. The formula I taught today was 6 modules long, but that doesn't include the logo module, which starts out the formula. So with that module, that's 7, because you're supposed to, according to Amazon, start out with the logo. You actually don't have to. You can get away without doing that, but Amazon actually tells you to. So if that's the case, you actually have to cut out one of the sections. You have to cut out the logo section, first of all, and you have to cut out one of the sections that we reviewed today. And the one to cut out is one of those 2 banner images with the X factor. You just have to get more creative in how to communicate everything in one of those banner images. So you're not going to cut out the hero image. You're not going to cut out the 4-panel lifestyle. You're not going to cut out the 4-panel features, and you're not going to cut out the product carousel. You're going to cut out one of the 2 banner images that have X factor, inclusions, instructions, or breakout.
What do you think? Is it an easy task for sellers? Because in my opinion, at least, for the most part, it's kind of difficult to put together the information for the EPC or the A+ content, because there's just so much to tell about the product, and you actually really have to cut down the content to know what's really important to share.
Less is more with DBC. You're so right. Yeah, that's one of the biggest things. That's why people come to us and pay us to do it, because they just can't handle it. It's just too overwhelming to them. But the exercise to do if you're doing this on your own and watching this and you want to create it yourself is think about putting yourself in the shoes of someone who's never seen your product before. When you're in your own box and you know everything about it, you want to tell everybody everything about what your product can do, because you tested out all these prototypes and there's dozens of them sitting in your house, in your kitchen or your living room or whatever. You're the most excited about it, but put yourself in the shoes of someone who doesn't care at all. And you're just a couple seconds in their day. They've never heard about you before. What are the main things that you have to communicate to them? What are the main things that they have to feel? What are the main things that they have to understand about your product? And just figure out how you can communicate those visually without text, and then write the text to support it. That's the exercise that you want to do. By the way, with this update, with the 5 module update, so far, Amazon is actually not enforcing it. So you can still load 7 modules as of the recording of this presentation, even though Amazon is saying 5. So we'll see where that goes, but that is one update to look out for.
Because I saw the same thing. The button said it's allowed to upload 5, although when I went into the tool and started putting together the modules, it actually allowed me to do 7. But one funny thing was that at the same time, the brand story module, which is like separate module, was missing for a second. So it was there the other day, it wasn't, and then it came back. So are you using that brand story module as well for the brands you work with?
Yeah, so not all brands actually have access to this.
Okay.
It depends on the category. It's not just about whether you have brand registry or not. Amazon is seemingly randomly allowing certain sellers, certain groups of sellers in certain categories to use the brand story module. So if you have the brand story section, you can use that to make up for the missing module, basically. And that is what we do for the sellers that do have access to it.
Okay, and probably like nobody knows how the sellers are chosen, like with a lot of different things on Amazon.
Yeah, it's weird. Amazon, what they typically do, I mean, I've seen this dozens and dozens of times over the past 6 years, is they will beta test some kind of new feature or new formula on a subset of sellers and then roll it out to all sellers once they see the results of it. And that brings us to the next update that we were talking about, which is premium enhanced brand content. So there is a premium version of enhanced brand content that's available only to select sellers. Right now, it's available to Launchpad sellers. So sellers that are using Amazon Launchpad, they get access to modules that other sellers don't have access to. So have you seen EBC that has a moving GIF or a moving image? Or you've seen EBC that has interactive components, like there's a module with this premium content that has like dots that you can put on the product that you can hover over to show different features. That's interactive, which is very cool. That's because this is being tested again on a subset of Amazon sellers. In this case, the subset is Amazon Launchpad sellers. So I do expect that these new modules will be available to all sellers. And again, once that happens, we're going to have to create a new video, because the formula, once you have access to those modules, is different than for sellers that don't have access to those modules. But for now, a vast majority of sellers, vast majority of sellers just don't have access to those modules because they're not Amazon Launchpad. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so more and more it seems like A+ content starts to seem like a small landing page inside of like a product page. So
Exactly.
You mentioned as well, it's super important to optimize for mobile. So if you can bring out a couple of things sellers have to keep in mind when they are either doing the A+ content themselves, designing themselves, or outsourcing that, what are the main things to keep in mind in order to make sure it's really like readable and easy to understand on mobile as well?
This is one of the reasons that we had to record this update from the last time we did an EBC video, is that a couple of the modules stopped working well on mobile, and even on desktop too. Like, we used to use the image switcher module. It was really great. It was interactive. You'd hover over a thumbnail of an image, and then that image would become big, and there'd be text underneath it that changed based on what you hovered over. So it actually allowed you to compress a lot of information into a small module because of interactivity. So it would change based on the customer, what they were hovering over. It was very, very cool. But it ended up, they changed the module, and now it just wastes a ton of white space. The picture is small. The main picture that you're enlarging is still small. The text is very awkward and like on the bottom, and then most of the module is white space. And on mobile, it's even more awkward. So we changed it to the 4-panel because it was much more efficient, showed the same amount of information in a more efficient way. And on mobile, it's great because on mobile, they take those 4-panel and they put them on top of each other. So each one takes up the whole width of the screen, which is awesome. So it's not trying to compress those 4 into like the width of the screen. It actually restacks them. So you show the 4-panel features that has the icons stacked, the 4-panel lifestyle with the benefits stacked. So when someone's scrolling, and people are used to scrolling on their phone, they're not used to tapping and interacting, to see different things. They're used to Instagram, Facebook, news feeds, scroll. That's the easiest thing that's most native to a mobile user. So mobile first is one of the reasons that we came up with this formula in the first place. So when you're designing EBC, I mean, if you're following the formula, you're good. You actually don't have to worry about this because we've already done the work for you. And in our case, tested it on mobile, tested it on desktop. This is the best formula for both. The only thing you do have to be careful about is when you're doing custom banner graphics, you have to be conscious of the fact that it is going to be on desktop taking up the whole screen, whereas on mobile, it only takes up about a third, because it maximizes the width of the screen, but it won't go the whole length of the screen, obviously, because it's completely different dimensions. It's portrait instead of landscape. So you have to have text on the banner image that's big enough to read when it's not showing up on the entire screen. You can't have really tiny text on the banner image. That's very important.
Okay,
But
that's really
always
good.
test it. Always test out your EBC. Once you load it up and it gets approved, pull it up on your phone, pull it up on the desktop, and look at it on both so that you can make sure that it's showing up great.
We have been seeing sellers like asking regarding the quality. If they use like, let's say the banner module, they have issues with quality. Like they do everything per Amazon rules, they format the file correctly, but after they upload the image or banner to Amazon, they still get like rather low quality of the banners. Do you have any fix for that or any cure for that?
Yes, you know what? Sometimes it actually happens randomly. We see it too. The best thing that you can do is, so what happens is basically sellers are uploading images that are high quality images, but then once the EBC goes live, it looks blurry or low quality or low fidelity. You have to just keep trying. Try a different file format, try a different size. Amazon's compression algorithms are just not the best. They're not foolproof and they're not watertight. So you just have to keep trying sometimes. If you're trying to PNG, try a JPEG, or the other way around, and eventually you'll solve it. We see this all the time. And if you can't solve it, just open up a ticket with Amazon seller support, and if you get the right person, at least they can fix it for you.
Okay, cool. Very good. So yeah, I guess we covered, or actually you covered a lot of information. So before we let others to dive into the topic and start putting together their A plus content, then I wanted to ask regarding cost-wise, because if new sellers are planning to launch their products and A plus content is really important add-on to the product page, then what is the cost range they should consider?
The cost to create EBC, you mean?
Yeah, for example, yeah, if they would like to outsource putting together the copy, but also the design elements they have here, then like all around, like what it is usually.
Yeah, it depends. Like if you're really scrappy and you're just starting out, you can do this on your own. But if you believe in the product, you believe in the future of the business, or if you've already had successes under your belt, I highly recommend you paying professionals to do it. Because like I said, it's like upgrading the engine of your car. Yeah, you could get into your car and take apart the engine and rebore each of the cylinders, but man, is that going to take a lot of time, and you're not a professional mechanic. If you take your car to a professional mechanic, or just open up the book and order a new engine, you're going to get a pro engine that's definitely not going to malfunction and is going to just take you to the finish line every time. So if you can stomach it, this is one of those investments that pays itself off, because of the fact that an increase in conversion pays you dividends every day permanently. So there is a payoff. Maybe it pays itself off in 14 days. Maybe it pays itself off in 28 days. But whatever the payoff is, from that payoff day forward, you're just making straight cash. It's one of those investments that's a pretty no-brainer. Like I'll put my money in things that pay me back money every day, all day, constantly.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a really good point. So, well, if anybody has any questions to you, then what's the best way to reach out to you? And perhaps once more, can you highlight what your company is doing and how you are helping Amazon sellers?
Sure. Yeah, I'll just I'll share the outreach email right here. Just hello@sophiesociety.com. That's the best way to reach me and my team. Shoot an email right there. It's always the most simple way. But yeah, and I would say, as parting words, again, you can do this on your own. That's why I'm teaching the formula. So I want the scrappy people to be able to build a business. It's changed my life, this opportunity on Amazon, and I know it'll change millions of others. So if you can't afford to get someone to do this for you, just follow my formula, do it on your own, and be scrappy. Use freepick.com, make the photos at home, do what you need to do to get it done. This is exactly what I did. But if you believe in the future of the brand, and you have any money to invest in it, I do highly recommend that you pay a pro to do it. And like I said, I come from the science background. I have a degree in physics. I brought that mindset into my company. We do everything from a first principles perspective, and a quantitative perspective, measuring the results of everything we do, we create the best and most high converting Amazon listing content in the world. And I can say that hands down, being in this industry for 6 years, working across dozens and dozens of companies, we create the best content. So that's what we do. We're Sophie Society, sophiesociety.com. Again, you can just email hello@sophiesociety.com if you want to get in touch with us or me. And yeah, happy to help you guys succeed on this marketplace and absolutely crush it.
Awesome. Was very happy to have you here again, and waiting for the next interview.
Hell yeah. I'm thinking we're probably going to have to do one pretty soon with all the changes that we see coming down the pike with EBC.
It seems so. It seems so. So good luck in your business.
All right. Have a great one.
I hope that information in this video was very useful and you are going to improve your EBC or A+ content on your Amazon product pages. And if you need direct help from Chris and his team at Sophie Society, check the link below to their website to see what they do, and they can help you not only with A+ content but with many other things which are needed when you are running Amazon business. And now I would like to invite you to watch other video where other guest Sasha Gorelik is showing us more tips about EBC A+ content, and she gives some examples and she explains her way how she prepares A+ content for her clients. Check this out.